I just put up a highlight video with the biggest surprises from the last ComicLink Featured Auction. That first batch had some books that went for way more than expected. These auction closings skew the other way with some major keys that, for whatever reason, failed to generate interest. Here we go. Okay, we got a minute to go. I was going to spend some time talking about this book, but I just got derailed by that crazy sale of Avengers 93. This is Batman number 1. It's a 0.5 grade with brittle pages, but it's blue label. It's not restored. Of course, you can look and see it is missing its cover. This is Batman number 1, first appearance of the Joker and Catwoman with no cover. Very hard to come up with a fair market value on this. We got a sale of $27,600, I believe, for this copy, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago. This one is at $10,261. So fair market's $58,000 for a 0.5, but this is not any 0.5 copy. This is coverless. Is it going to get to $58,000? Is it even going to get to $27,600? Currently at $10,261. No one's bid on this in days. I'm going to hit update now and see what it is. It's $12,000 with 10 seconds to go. Somebody's going to get, the brittle pages mean this may just turn to dust in 50 years or 100 years. This paper, the lignins have broken down. It is probably going to deteriorate even in this case. So you don't know what you're getting when you buy this. That's why it's at such a steep discount. Copies of Batman number 1 do not sell for under $50,000 no matter what condition they're in. But this one is selling for $17,111. Still way below any sale price. There are 24 copies of Batman 1 in 0.5 condition, 300 overall. So it's not that scarce of a book. Here we have a copy selling 11 years ago for $9,700, $13,700. This one did sell 2 years ago for $27,600 on Heritage, and they're flipping it for $17,111. They lost $10,000 on this book. My guess is the person who bought it 2 years ago did not know what they were buying, did not realize brittle pages meant that this book was not going to hold up for decades. The acids were eating the paper. Maybe they knew what they were getting. And maybe brittle pages isn't as dire of a situation as I've been led to believe it is. But my hunch is the reason they're selling it 2 years after they bought it is because they did not know how bad of a situation brittle pages was. Once they found out, they decided to recover what they could of their money and maybe put it into a different copy of Batman number 1. Or, I don't know, a boat. They lost $10,000 on it, minus the commission they're going to have to pay of $1,700. So they're only going to get about $15,000 and change off of this sale. So that's almost half what they bought it for. That's a shame. Too bad for them, but great news for someone else who now owns a copy of Batman number 1, first appearance of the Joker and Catwoman. In all that, I missed a bunch of other Batman sales. 2 is sold, 3 is sold, 6 has sold, 8 has sold, but I made it in time for the one that I was really interested in. Batman number 11 in 7.0 off-white to white pages with a CVA stamp on the cover. Currently going for $18,300 with a fair market value of $15,500. What do I say, folks? What do I say? Joker covers always go above fair market. Way above fair market. Why even have the fair market where it is when the sales are always above fair market? I don't know what's going on, but this is 20% above fair market value, which is $15,500. There are just people who really like the early Joker covers, and this is the second earliest. This one was published right after Detective Comics 62, and in my opinion, it's way better than Detective Comics 62 as a cover. This is a great Joker cover, and the final hammer price is $18,800. Way above book. But it's worth it because the fair market values for this book should be higher. This is one of the best Joker covers, period. It's also one of the first, and this is a really nice looking one. I've seen copies of this book that look like garbage, but this one is really, really nice. Oh, closing in 5 seconds. Detective Comics 62, the first real Joker cover. Fair market is $10,000 for this unrestored 7.5. The bidding was at $6,555. What did it close at? $7,300. Wow. I talked a lot about how Joker covers always go for above fair market. Joker covers always go above fair market. This, I'm pretty sure, is the first Joker cover where he is clearly the Joker. Not as good, in my opinion, as Batman number 11. That's the best early Joker cover. But this one came first. And I thought for sure this would beat fair market but it didn't. Not even close. Fair market of $10,000. This sold for $7,300. That's really surprising. Really surprising. This was a good buy. And then we got Fantastic Four number 2, one of the most interesting books in the auction. This is a very rare book. It is the last 10-cent Marvel book. It's a Fantastic Four book, but it looks like an Atlas book from the 50s. They hadn't established the Marvel Silver Age style yet. When did the Marvel box show up? The Marvel box shows up in Fantastic Four number 14. So all these first 13 issues don't have the Marvel box in the upper left corner, and this one was even still 10 cents. This is a 9.4 white pages copy. There are only 9.4 copies, and there are 4 in higher grades. Let's see if there is a 9.8. There's one 9.8, 3 9.6s. This is one of the 9 9.4s. The fair market on this was $78,000, but it was $78,000 because of a peak of the market sale. There's a $78,000 and an $84,000 sale, both on Heritage, both in 2022 when prices were sky high. We know we're coming down from that, but it still should be quite high. And it was. The auction just closed at $41,000. I can't remember what I predicted this was going to go for. I knew it was going to be less than $78,000.
It'll go probably in the 40s or 50s.
Prices are getting back down to probably where they should be now that the speculation has died down. Issue 26 just closed this second. The bidding was at $5,000 and the fair market is $4,900. So it was already above book and it sold for $9,778. Wow. That is a big, big jump. It's so nice to see that somebody else loves this cover as much as I do. I love Fantastic Four 26. I have a bunch of copies of it. I've owned a couple and sold them, never for very much. I've never bought them for very much. I've never sold them for very much. Mine were in the 7.0s and the 8.0s. This one is 9.6. Even at off-white to white, almost twice the fair market value, which was $4,900, but this one sold for $9,778. That is a huge, huge jump. And this is a book that it's a relatively high population book where there's a lot of certainty about what it's worth. So it's really interesting to see it spike that high. Fantastic Four 48, The Coming of Galactus in 9.6 off-white to white has a fair market of $33,000. When I looked at it before, it was only bidding at $5,600. Now it's bidding at $17,166 in the final seconds. Let's see what it sells for. And update, nothing. $17,166, almost half the fair market value. Galactus has come. He showed up in the Fantastic Four movie. We got all the Galactus we're ever going to get. There was a bad Galactus movie 17, 18 years ago. We finally got a good Galactus movie. It happened. It's over. The excitement has died down on that character. And the Silver Surfer. We saw the Silver Surfer in the MCU. I thought she was great. I'm not particularly eager to see more. Maybe in the Secret Wars, Avengers Doomsday. Could be, but I don't think people are that eager for it. These books are not selling for high prices. It's kind of like what happened with Avengers 8 a couple of years ago when Kang was booted out of the MCU and those prices crashed. This is a little bit different because we actually got the movie and it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't. Fantastic Four Annual 3 and 9.8. There'd only been one previous sale, I think, of this book at $4,400. There hadn't, when I bought my 9.2 of this, there'd never been a recorded sale at 9.8. There now is one for $4,400. This is a 9.8 white pages. Did it sell for more than $4,400? It was at $3,360 right up to the end. And it sold for $7,927. That's more like it. That's where this book should be. This is a great issue of Fantastic Four. It's late in the run. It's not considered a key. Reed Richards and Sue Storm get married in this. She becomes Sue Richards. The reason I'm excited about it is more that Jack Kirby threw every character in the Marvel Universe into this issue. He put them all on the cover. I love this cover. I love this story. I bought a low-grade copy of this. I've got a 9.2 graded, and I just picked up at a show a mid-grade, maybe a 4.0, 4.5 of this. This one, I don't mind opening up and flipping through it. Every page has somebody on it. Here we got Daredevil. Here we got the Super Skrull, Kang, Thor, the Black Knight, Doctor Doom, the Red Ghost. Here come the X-Men, Mole Man. Every page of this has something going on, and they're all weaved into this one crazy madcap story. I think this should be more of a key. I'm going to make it my cause. But apparently I don't need to because somebody else agrees with me. Somebody paid $7,927 for a perfect copy of this book. No, there's not ever going to be a 9.9 of it. 9.8 is the best there's ever going to be. And now its price is established closer to where it should be. I'm never getting this back in its bag. Giant Size X-Men #1. This is another one that, if anything was targeted by these investment funds, it would be this book. It's a huge population, 12,312 copies. Every auction always has a bunch. This one has four copies. You got your 9.8, your 9.6, your 9.4, and your 9.2. They're not going to put multiple 9.8s in an auction, but they could if they wanted to. The fair market is $37,000, and that's way down from where it was. The highest price ever paid for this book was $72,000 in 2021. The last sale on Heritage was $21,600 in August. So the fair market value, it's averaging multiple sales. It hasn't dropped down to adjust to the new reality. 21,600 is probably more like where this should be. But this particular copy is already higher. This is a White Pages copy. It should go for a bit more. I don't think it's going to get to 37,000. With 30 seconds left to go, it's at 23,611. Let's see what happens. We're counting down 20 seconds. I'm going to do an update. Let's see. 24,111. So there's bidding going on. It may go up again. 10 seconds left to go. I'm not going to hit update. I'm going to wait till it's done, because it takes about 5 seconds to load the new price. Just closed. That's it. 24,111. That's where this should be. Given the supply, we've got a 9.9, which sold for 170,000 last year, but we've got 264 9.8s. I'm going to pull up my calculator. We're going to do some quick math. You got 264 copies of a book. Each one's worth 28,000. Oh, wait a second. Interesting. My spreadsheet that I did a week ago had the fair market on the 9.8 at 37,000, and they've now changed it to 28,000. So Go Collect has dropped the fair market on 9.8s by $9,000 in the last week. Was 37,000, now 28,000. Wow, that's a big drop. 264 copies at 28,000 each. That is $7,392,000 in market value for those 264 copies. You divide the fair market value by the number of copies, and you get an apples to apples sense of where this should be compared to other books at 9.8. Take X-Men 1. There are two 9.8s of X-Men 1. There are 264 9.8s of Giant Size X-Men 1. Which should be worth more, the two X-Men 1s or the 264 Giant Size X-Men 1s? I would argue they should be about the same. These 9.8s of X-Men 1, the last sale was in 2012. If they sold today, they'd be over $1 million. They'd probably be $1.5 million, let's say. Those two copies are worth $1.5 million. That's $3 million in market value. That means that this Giant Size X-Men 1, if you want to say that they should be worth about the same amount, which is what I would say, then Giant Size X-Men #1 should still come down by more than half. The fair market should be about 13 or 14,000. That would probably be a healthy value given the population for this book. This one just sold for 24,111. I want to tell you it's a good buy because I like this book, but I think if we were sane and if we were actually looking at the numbers, we would put this book at about half of what it is. House of Secrets #92, first appearance of the Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson. We got a signature from Len Wein on the cover, no Bernie Wrightson signature. He just passed away a few years ago, I believe. The problem with this book is it is PGX. We collectors are all a lot suspicious of PGX grades, and I think somewhat of PGX signatures, and also PGX's attention to detail in catching things that we generally trust CGAC to catch. With PGX, collectors are not confident that they're going to catch restoration tricks that have been done to improve the grade, and particularly when you get a 9.6, we just don't trust that it's a legitimate 9.6. That's why this book, which would have a $34,000 fair market value if it were in a CGC case and unsigned, is not going to hold that value in a PGX case. So, like I said, 34,000 fair market value. Bidding on this was at 10,251 in the seconds before it closed. Let's see if anybody bid it up. It did. By $2,000, they bid it to 12,650. It could be that the person who paid $12,650 for this book does intend to crack it open and have it regraded and is expecting to get maybe something like a 9.2 or a 9.4 from CGC. If they got a 9.4 from CGC, the fair market's $15,000 and they're in good shape. If they get a 9.2 or lower, then they've lost some money. And God forbid, if they get a 9.6 or a 9.4 restored, then the value of this book is in the toilet, because Bronze Age restored books are not going to get anywhere near the Blue Label prices. Bronze Age, there's no tolerance for restoration. Marvel Superheroes 18. One of the pitfalls of speculation is when the key that you're looking at The characters have so little to do with how they were adapted in movies that they're unrecognizable. And that's the case with this one. These are not the Guardians of the Galaxy that appeared in the movies. Nevertheless, this is a 9.8 white pages copy, and there aren't very many. It's closing in 1 minute. This is from 1969. It's not a high population book. There are only 5 copies in 9.8 and no recorded sales on Go Collect. So this is something pretty special. Guardians of the Galaxy have had their ride in the MCU. They literally have their ride at Disneyland, which I've been on several times. It's a lot of fun, but it's over now. The current bid on here is very high, $38,000. We're about to see what the value at 9.8 is for this book. We've got an established 9.6 value of $8,500. So following the ratios, this should be about $22,000 for a 9.8. But we're already way higher than that. We're at 38,000. Just closed. Let's see if anybody bid it up in the final minute. $47,000. That is a high sale price. I'm surprised. I thought enthusiasm for the Guardians of the Galaxy was drying up. It is not. And now we have an even more distressing cover. Most of the Hitler covers you see, Hitler is being attacked or beaten up, is clearly the villain. This one says Emperor of Hate, which is presumably pejorative, but it really doesn't look like it. This is a heroic looking pose. I don't know what they're trying to say here by putting him up against Garibaldi, Magellan, Andrew Jackson, Charles Dickens, Seminole Indians, the Alamo. This is real life comics, true and gripping action adventures from 1942. So Hitler was living large in 1942. He's holding a gun and a skull. I want to think this is supposed to make him look like a bad guy, but it really doesn't look like it makes him look like a bad guy. This looks like a book that is going to appeal to Hitler fans, and I find that deeply troubling. There's been a number of World War II Nazi-related books at this auction that they always go for a lot. They always have. I just feel like there's a lot more Nazis around than there used to be, or maybe they were hiding and they're not hiding anymore. That's what bothers me about these books auctioning right now. This Real Life Comics number 3 with Hitler on the cover is in 6.0 with a fair market value of $11,500 based on 2 other sales. There's only 60 copies graded. The 2 other copies sold for $7,500 in 2020 and $11,500 in 2021. This one, the bidding was at $88.50 until it sold a few seconds ago. And let's see what it sold for. $9,300. Okay. Hey, good news, folks. The enthusiasm for Hitler comics seems to have dropped a little bit since 2021. I don't really blame the owner for selling it off and getting some money for it. I just wish things weren't the way they are. Then we move on to Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer number 1 is closing in 2.5 minutes. 9.8 white pages, so a perfect 9.8. The fair market on the Silver Surfer 1 is extraordinarily high. I've made the point in past videos that I think this one is wildly overvalued. And my ongoing conspiracy theory about investment funds targeting high population key books and driving the prices up. This is another one I'd point to. So the fair market on this one in 9.8 is $130,000. There's only 4 recorded sales at 9.8. And this makes me really suspicious. Heritage is where I think the institutional bidders are buying their books, collectible investment funds. And when I see 2 sales for exactly the same price, that makes me even more suspicious that this is a mechanical operation where they are just setting a price and making sure it bids at that. It just seems fishy to me. You got 2 sales for exactly the same price at the same auction house, same book, same grade. This is not Heritage that we're looking at though. This is ComicLink, and the bidding is at $66,500. So if this jumps up to $132,000 or anywhere near it, this sold just in April for $132,000. That's going to make my eyebrow raise like this. I can't actually make my eyebrow do this, but if I could, I would do that. Here we go. 1 second, and it closes for $70,500. Whoever is willing to pay $132,000 for this book, they're willing to pay it on Heritage, but they're not coming around to ComicLink. Clearly, there is some gravitational pull that is driving the price up for this auction as well, because prior to those 2 huge sales, which I should point out, 2024 and 2025, when these 132,000 sales happened, well after the pandemic bubble, prices were on the downturn when the first of these 2 sales happened. It should have been lower. And prior to those 2 sales, 2017, it sold for $27,000. 2012, it sold for $11,950. That's where I think this book should be now in 2025. And the price that this book sold at splits the difference. Whoever bought this for $70,500 is looking at these Heritage sales, feeling like they're getting a sweet deal by getting it for almost just over half of what it sold for, and probably confident that they can resell it. I don't know that that's the case. I don't think they're going to be able to sell this book for more unless whoever's buying up these, I'll bet you these are the same buyer. I'll bet you that these 232,000 sales are from the same buyer who wants to ensure that this book has established a value at this level so that their assets hold at that level. What did you think of those sale prices? Let me know in the comments. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.